Hello, my soul-seeking friends. It's Shanna. Thank you so much for listening to Sense of Soul podcast. Enlightening conversations with like-minded souls from around the world, sharing their journey of finding their light within, turning pain into purpose, and awakening to their true sense of soul. If you like what you hear, show me some love and rate, like, and subscribe. And consider becoming a Sense of Soul Patreon member, where you will get ad-free episodes, monthly circles, and much more. Now go grab your coffee, open your mind, heart, and soul. It's time to awaken. Hey listeners, did you know that Sense of Soul is a part of the Ethereal Network? A group of like-minded podcasts like Breathe, Love, and Magic with Ronnie and Ryan, or the Soul Nectar Show with Carrie Hummingbird, and the Skeptic Metaphysicians, just to name a few, who I also have to give a shout out today to the host of the Skeptic Metaphysicians, Will and Karen, because they recommended today's guest, Nicole Harp. Nicole is an amazing professional animal communicator and a talented painter of souls. Nicole paints the souls and consciousness of humans and animals. Her soul is a combination of art and a deep connection to nature and animals. She is a lifelong artist and educator with a communication arts and design degree from the Virginia Commonwealth University, and I was fortunate to work with Nicole. She gave me amazing readings on my dogs, Rascal and Ayla, and she did the most beautiful painting of my daughter, Kensley. I honestly will say I've had a lot of sessions for many guests, and this one was so special. I will cherish it forever, and I have been really looking forward to sharing this episode with you listeners today. So if you're an animal lover, you're going to love this episode. I'm so excited. Yay, finally. Seriously, Nicole, I can't tell you how much I've appreciated you. I'm so glad that I think it was Will and Karen from the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
I'm glad we met too. I'm glad I reached out, and I'm glad you're so kind. Everybody Karen suggested to reach out to, has been super kind, and it's been a good fit.
Yeah. So my children are all, animal lovers, especially Kensley,
right?
Which that was so funny because most of the things that you said in the reading of both my dogs were things that Kensley has been trying to tell us.
Oh, wow.
But there's kids for you. They don't have the ego so much.
Right. They haven't heard anybody tell them they can't do it. They've got a supportive parent too, but they're so open. Right. Absolutely. And I love that photo of her under the tree. How perfect is that? Did you show her the painting yet?
Yes. She looked at it and I was like, what do you see? And she saw the same thing that I had saw. She saw our tree. I mean, it's our tree. It's so gnarled. It's got twist in it and it goes in different directions. None of it makes any sense, which I love about it. The way that you painted it, you just captured that in your painting. As soon as I saw it, I thought of Kensley and that tree because she loves that tree. What me and Kensley both saw were kind of like arms or like this energy, this white light kind of embracing the tree.
And it's interesting because it's abstract painting, so it's non-representational, but it does look like kind of a tree. It does look like a tree. Right. And it does look like Kenzie kind of reaching up to the heavens. If you were to, because our minds are always trying to make sense of things, especially with abstraction. Right. What's really resonated with me was her colors. So I'm going to have a show of the 50 paintings. And the whole point is to just, congratulate myself for painting 50. Because originally it was 200, then 100, and it's like 50. It's okay. 50 is doable. I can have them in my studio. I can have a show of 50. But her color scheme, when I look at all of them, some colors repeat, yellows and orange. Of course, there's only so many colors in the spectrum, but Kensley's colors are so different.
Kensley being a very shy person, which you also said in your writing about her, she, she's known for that, for being an introvert, like on a very extreme level, but she loves red, which is the opposite kind of, being shy.
Right.
So the fact
very
that
grounding,
you connected that, it is that earthly color, and she is she's a home person, this is where she digs her roots in. I mean, everything about it, Nicole, was there was so much depth there. I just feel like this has been one of the neatest things I've ever done before.
Good.
And so not only on a spiritual level, but we actually were, we took the advice that you gave us also in connecting with our animals, what they needed. And we all did, all of my kids did. And, even my oldest son, who I didn't even tell him too much about it, but what I did tell him, he started to tell the dogs before his friends came, okay, Brandon's coming.
You know who Brandon is, right? You remember him?
Yes. Right. You've been knowing Brandon since the day you got here, but yet you're still barking at him every time he comes in the door. And it seems like, these things are working. And also, we had issues with the dog in the back, Blue.
How's that going?
Much better, much better. And she also, you gave advice to Blue's owner, Bonnie, who she is a skeptic, but could not believe just how on point you were about her dogs. And she's been putting in place, trying to walk him, as often as possible and give him jobs. And just truly this experience. I mean, I cannot say it enough how much I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. And you're the other half of it, right? So I get out of the way. I just communicate what the animals want to say, but the people who are controlling their resources, and I want to say own is because you don't own them. It's a coexistence. Because I will say that the animals will leave if they're not where they're supposed to be. I mean, cats. I know cats who have told me I'm not coming home. It's an intrinsic relationship where you need each other, and everybody needs to be heard. And the animals being heard, that's an element. Communicating because they're sentient beings, right? Capable of love, intelligence, opinions, likes, dislikes, and then to hear them and then you actually to respond to what they're saying is the other part of it. If you did nothing, yeah, you'd see some change, but you wouldn't see like you wouldn't get out of it what you're getting out of it, which is seeing them in a different way, right? I mean, you already love your animals and you know how deep they are because I've had a communication. I mean, it's different when I do my animals, but like I've had my students do mine because that's how they're learning. And what a difference in how I see them. It just takes the veil down and the love is deeper. Yeah. And I think that's why I think we should communicate with our animals at least 4 times a year, twice a year minimum. But it's like getting communications for yourself. I get minimum from my favorite Sherry Dillard, twice a year minimum, or one minimum, but sometimes twice a year. Well, twice I do because it's different when you're getting it for yourself versus you giving it. And it just keeps you connected, on a different level.
On a different level. That's it.
You can't be in the spirit realm all the time. We'd be way up here. We'd be walking around in the clouds.
True.
You know what I mean? We can't connect.
I have to put myself down quite often. It's
yeah.
I'm constantly trying to root myself. But yes, we all knew, and I've always said that Rascal was so very empathetic. And all dogs, I think, have, empathy and are empaths. But Rascal, just so sensitive and so connected.
To keep it light with Rascal.
Yeah.
Have some fun. And that's what I think the key. Have some fun. Lighten it up, especially with empaths, right?
Yes, totally. I'm like that. I've had to lighten up myself because
remind yourself
learning that over time. Yeah. I mean, even as a child, I was so very sensitive and taking everything so hard and serious.
Right.
But you're right. You have to lighten up. I didn't ever get a chance to tell you about the divine timing that Rascal came into our lives and how he did. Okay. But so my dad died back in 2016 and it was at the end of May. And so right before Father's Day. And about 2 weeks after my dad passed, right before Father's Day, my 16-year-old little tiny poodle, I had to put her to sleep. I mean, she was one of my children. I had her longer than some of my children.
Right.
And so it just was devastating. And so we had no dog, of course, and which is, I mean, some people should wait, it's kind of, hard to replace a dog, right away.
Right.
And I wasn't thinking that, but my son, Ethan, had been asking for a dog of his own, which Rascal did not become his alone. And that was one thing because he could get a dog, a support dog. We talked about it, but they made it very clear to me that this would be a working dog. This would not be a family dog. This would be Ethan's dog, period. And I just said, I have too many kids. That wouldn't work out for me, if I ever did that.
Right.
So it was on Father's Day in the backyard. My kids called me out there and I was sad because it's Father's Day. My dad just died. They're like, come out here. And there's all these dragonflies. I mean, it was a swarm of them. I mean, they were hitting us, touching us, flying. I mean, it was crazy. It was magical.
Right.
But I'm on my phone. I'm still outside and I find a website and it was called like Cheyenne Doodles or something. I'm not really sure. But at the bottom of it, it said she would donate one dog per litter to someone who was on the spectrum, because she had a child who was on the spectrum. And that's just what she was doing to give back.
She could give back, right?
Yeah. So you could fill out an application and she would get back to you if she chose you. And not within like 30 minutes, this lady responds, which was surprising anyways.
Right.
And so we talk on the phone, and she's got a 719 number, which is a Colorado number. And she says, the only thing you have to do is pay for the shipment of your dog. And I said, well, you're in Colorado. You have a 719. She goes, no, I used to live in Colorado. I'm actually over in Texas now. We moved here a few years ago, but I still have my Colorado number. She goes, but I'm actually going to be there in a few weeks because my dad just died and I'm bringing his ashes. So here it is, Father's Day. The both of us are talking. And she's willing to now drive Rascal to us and meet us.
She's coming there. Matt, is that not your dad working and her dad working to make that happen?
Can you believe?
And your dog, your past dog, what's your poodle's name? Your past poodle?
Latte.
Latte. I'll have to tap into Latte sometime and see what she's doing.
Deb Shepard here is just a renowned psychic. And I went to a big event of hers. And sure enough, my dad had showed up and she goes, did you have a little white dog that passed? And I was like, how could she possibly know this? This is crazy. She goes, this little white dog's following your dad around. And I thought that was the funniest thing I ever in my life had of that picture. And so, yeah, I thought that was really neat.
That's beautiful. Yeah. That's beautiful. I mean, that's just how things work, right? You open to it and it happened and your kids were part of it. That's an amazing story.
It was. And Rascal was just the perfect dog too from the beginning, just.
It's funny, the name Rascal too.
Okay. My dad had nicknames for my kids. It was either Little Rascal or Little Shit. So, and it was my son.
You were Little Rascal.
Right. Yeah. And Ethan said, I think we should call him Little Rascal.
Yeah. Adorable.
That's why.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was divine.
You cannot make this stuff up.
I know.
Like you couldn't write a story better than real life, right? When we're just, being present, being in the moment and allowing things to happen in your flow.
It's just, yeah. I sent you pictures of both of my dogs, and the way that you were able, just by looking at their eyes, and seeing their soul and communicating with their spirit, you really, really got both of their personalities.
Thank you.
Undeniably. Yeah. It was pretty amazing.
And I don't need the photo, but I just like to have it. I don't need it, but I definitely need a name. But it is easier to pinpoint because when I'm communicating, a lot of animals want to come through, especially recently. And then the channel gets a little backed up. And I'm like, okay, well, I love you all. I have to say, I love you all. I have some boundaries. I love you all. And I'll talk to you at another time, but I can only talk to Rascal right now, or, whoever I'm going to talk to right now. And we'll talk again, but there's so many animals on the other side that want to communicate. And I'm not saying they're like people's pets or companions, but like just in general, like birds, horses, just ones that have passed over. There are particularly a lot of animals by my father. Wow. That just want to come in and communicate. So the paintings that I'm doing, like I did a collective one for puppies that didn't make it. And it's a big 4 foot by 6 foot. And then two for horses. And some souls, like collective souls, need to be huge. So I'll get into the bigger, like, maybe 10-foot paintings when I start to do. But the next one I know I'm doing is like a collective of just birds. And I do specific ones too, but especially getting ready to do a big painting for birds.
Oh, I love birds. I don't know if you know about me and my birds.
Me and my birds too. All kinds of birds. Love them.
Oh,
love some birds.
Yeah, me and my hawks out here.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really strong for a long time. And do you know, this is the very first year over the summer. I've never had this, but I've been bombarded with hummingbirds. I've never even had hummingbirds here ever in the 7 years that I've lived here, and just this year, and they will come right in front of me.
Yep, me
and
too.
Just hover right in front of my face, almost give me eye contact.
Yep.
and then leave.
Same with me. I really didn't even know we had hummingbirds. I tried the hummingbird like water thing for a while. It didn't really work. And then my mom passed about, it'll be 4 months.
Oh, I'm sorry.
15th of this month. Thank you. I'm sorry about your father. It doesn't get any easier. It seems like it's only been like not even been 4 months, but it seems like 4 years. And her sign is a bird. The hummingbirds, like you said, just right in your face. And they like cardinal plants. So I'm going to get some cardinal plants because I'm amazed by hummingbirds. I'm amazed by all animals. I love anything with the nervous system. That's why anything with the nervous system, but the birds, the hummingbirds are phenomenal. And I agree with you. I've never seen them before. They've never gotten in my face like that.
Yeah.
We had a cardinal down by the window, just like, throwing itself against the door a couple times to get my attention. Then he just like walked over there and then flew away. I mean, I've had talks with the flies. I'm like, I'm going to stun you right now. And then I'm going to outside. What do you want to do? Because you can't stay here. Do you want this to be it? Or do you want me to slow down so I can stun you? And I will stun them and then pick them up and put them outside and they'll fly away. I mean, I'm not going to say I do this with every little, roaches. They're hard to live with. But
yeah, I'm like, I'm sending you off into your next life. I'm doing you a favor. Who wants to be a roach forever?
Find a way out. Right. Well, it's funny. We had, an opening where we live on the water where rats could come in, rats or mice, whatever. And they did, because I opened the door in my studio and there was one. I'm like, hey. And then because I had some bird food in there, I'm like, okay, this is how it's going to go. You can't stay here.
Right.
Right. And the winter's coming. So I'm going to get a exterminator to come and check to see where there's openings. And then we're going to close them up. And you got 2 days to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I put some stainless steel over the hole on the outside, so he was stuck in here for like that night, and I felt so horrible because he was so stressed, right? And he actually he was in my studio and he went to my paintings and started licking the chemical off my paintings. And you could see his little hands on the bottom of my paintings. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I left you with no food or water. And so I unplugged the hole first thing in the morning. He went out, no sign of him. We concreted the hole, but I told him, I said, if there's anything else underneath, I had communicated with him, you got 2 days to get out because this guy's coming Friday. And it was good. We closed the hole, no issues, no one underneath. And
maybe he was a painter.
Poor thing. Yeah, for real. Maybe he was insightful. But I hope I didn't hurt him with the chemicals. But anyway.
Well, I mean, like finding out that Rascal can literally sing with Kensley. We never knew Rascal had this amazing talent. Kensley's been bringing home her violin, just since school started over the past few weeks.
Beautiful violin.
And here she's playing it. And Rascal comes right next to her, just sits right next to her. And he starts singing. And, we've always laughed because Rascal is bred with a phantom poodle.
Yeah, what's that?
A phantom poodle has the markings of kind of like a German Shepherd. But they're actually full breed. They're very rare. Like I know Robin Williams had them. I think Jacqueline Kennedy had them. But we always said that he looked like he came here in a little tuxedo.
Right.
And so here he is, singing all proper with Kensley. Every time she plays the violin, I'm like, dude.
I'm going to book you at the Met. I told you I had a poodle that did that when I played the clarinet.
That's
it's something about the pitch and the tone.
Yes,
and some will, and they start howling. Yeah. Amazing.
I love it. And like I also shared with you, he's always done that with Kensley. He would go and wake her up and howl at her too. Oh, really? He was like the alarm. Mm-hmm. Every morning he'd go up and howl right in front of her door, like, wake up, Kensley.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that.
He is a neat dog and they have a neat relationship. And Kensley, like I said, she loves animals more than she loves people.
Right.
But how did you get into this? And what were you like as a little Nicole
running around? First of all, what child doesn't connect with animals?
Yeah, true.
Pretty much. I mean, we're so open when we come in and we're just like, that's, and I feel too, like, well, answer to your question is I have always loved and not been fearful of animals, walk straight up to them, whatever kind. I mean, Nicole, stop, I was telling someone about a story about me walking right up to a terrier while it was eating and kissing it. I mean, I kiss anything, hug and kiss in your face. I have a lot of energy, so I have to be careful because I've had to kind of tamp it down because some animals who had trauma, a lot of trauma, like we had one dog that had tons of trauma. And my spouse actually said she wanted it to be her dog. And she's like, okay, you cannot bond with Bongo. You can't for a week. And it killed me. But I had to so it could be her animal because I've always come into your house to be someone else's animal, your dog, but then they bond with you.
That happens to me. Everyone
I
always gets
know,
mad
right?
at
So you have
me.
to hold back. But then that dog, I had so much strong energy. She was telling me, you need to take care of some of your anger issues and stuff. And, maybe that is one of the points where I started, with Bongo or the other ones, really taking a hard look at myself and my childhood trauma and how that manifested in maybe anger energy instead of loving from the heart energy. But
Yeah.
I've always connected with animals. We always do shelter animals. In fact, so many of the animals that are on the other side helping me, we've got over 24 because we rescue. At one point we had six dogs, but we rescue, different ages. And if you're getting one that's 10 and Freddie, the French fry poodle, he's 15, we're like, oh, he won't live that long. He lived another 5 years or 4 years, or if he was 14. But I always do the rescues. But I don't think you need to, or if you don't remember, I don't think you need to have had that to be an animal communicator. I think you just need to have an unconditional, undying, open heart and love for animals. And like you said, I've done the work so that you can be a clear channel. And I just want to do some good. Like I've always asked, what can I do for animals? And anything, my paintings and the animal communications, it's all about healing. Guardians don't have an issue to come to me to have an animal communication. You can just want a better relationship or bond with your animal. But if they have like a child coming into the house, a new baby coming, or they're moving, or behavior that's all of a sudden brand new, or like the dog jumping over the fence, he's actually hurting himself trying to jump over the fence. So if there is an issue, or you just have questions you've always wanted to ask him,
I think that it's so beautiful. We're here to help each other. You're going to heal through me and I'm going to heal through you.
Absolutely. What are you here to teach us, and what are they here to teach? I always ask the animals, what are you here to teach your guardians, and what are the guardians here to teach you? Yeah, that connection and why they came to you is that. Like you said, the butterflies and birds are flying in front of me. I'm sorry, it's a little distraction part of my window. But yeah, I mean, it is about healing. It's about looking at ourselves. I feel like the animals and if you want to know yourself, look at your parents, look at your kids. Yeah.
Well, and they're always signs, especially for loved ones. My dad called his truck the Hawk. And so, when the hawk started like sitting close with me for long periods of time and stuff, I was like, okay, this is strange.
What?
Right. And then my dad called me grasshopper, and I have grasshoppers all over my windows, looking in, and they'll stay for days and days. And usually around his birthday or around my birthday or around something specific. This year it was on Father's Day. We just thought it was so, interesting. My daughter still sees dragonflies at times that connect her to her grandpa because of the initial amazing mystical experience with the dragonflies. And, the other day I was coaching a client and we were talking about the Garden of Eden, and we were looking at it from a different perspective, especially about the serpent, the snake, who tells Eve, you will not die. You're going to awaken this. You're going to find wisdom, and you actually understand that you are part of God. Like, this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. And plus the serpent also is known as a feminine energy. And so we had a great conversation about it. Not even 2 minutes later, I go open my front door and there's a snake. Of course, some people get a little.
Really happen? Yeah. Did that really happen? Yeah.
Right. I took a picture and sent it to her right away. And, I said, just a divine moment. And there was no fear in me. And again, it was about that perspective of how we see things and what we've been taught to think about things.
Absolutely. Unconditioning our conditioning mind, right?
Yes, I had no fear.
Yeah, no fear. I love that. And it's all that preconditioning, right? All that, like we spend half our lives conditioning, academia, family, patterning, conditioning, and then the other half decondition.
Yeah. There's always so many signs.
There are signs. And I'm just, and I think, what do you think we get those signs?
Right.
I feel we get them to be present, to be in the now, because we're moving about, we're traveling about. And I think that's what animals do for us. They bring us into the present moment. They make us stop, and they make us not think about the moment we just had or the moment to come, what we're going to do, but that right in that moment. And to be in that present moment is when we have creativity. It's when we have insight. There's a couple of things, that, and then being 2 steps out of your comfort zone is a grace of God. And then being in the present moment, I think, that's where the joy and the life is. And animals bring that to us. Children can too, but we're talking about animals.
Yes, I sit outside sometimes and watch like the squirrels. It's like a freaking circus. I can't
believe
they
have so much fun. Yeah, I need to learn from them. I mean, they all have buddies. They all have so much fun. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. They're
Yeah,
all, they're not fighting over millions of dollars, just some nuts, you know,
right.
you know,
Yes, it's
yeah,
remarkable.
pot of
Yeah.
gold, you know.
Or you always have one that's like bitching at the rest of them, like "Meh, meh," and yells at. Oh, one will just sit there and go off on Ayla, and Ayla's not barking at it, just looking at it like,
I,
what?
in their community, they're telling one, tell all, right? See danger, if you see
Yeah.
danger, say something, and they're always telling their other ones, the other squirrels.
Yeah, I mean, I
It,
could sit out and watch them all day.
yeah, nature. I mean, that's another thing, being present, connecting with nature. All the things that we need to do more of. Get off our devices and be present. Got my workers here now. I have the feral turned domestic baby cat. Don't
Oh,
get me started on the name. And
oh.
little Ziva and Charlie and Bogart.
Well, I mean, it must get hard to think of unique names when you've had so many.
My mom had a list that we would pick from. She had a running list of the best dog names.
Oh, wow.
The best. Funny, I was doing a communication. I kept saying like Lila or Layla, and the woman's like, well, the communication was awesome. And she's like, but I do want to say because I send an audio, and she's like, through the whole thing, I laughed because you kept saying my dog's wrong name. She said, and it wasn't wrong because we actually named her that first. And then my daughter's friend's name was Layla, whatever. So we had to change it to that. And she said, it's so interesting that you called her by the original name that we were going to name her. So she's like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So it was just interesting. But it's interesting too, just to point another thing about they don't really care. And some do, but very few have. They don't care about whether they're male or female. Like they don't care if you're like using the proper pronoun. They're not like, they're like male, female, whatever. Some are like, well, I am a girl. Like some have told me that, but they pointed it out to me. But they don't care about gender.
Hey listeners, did you know that Sense of Soul has a network of Lightworkers affiliates program? Now you get to work with one of our inspiring guests, and I'd like to introduce you to one of our affiliates. Medicine woman Carrie Hummingbird. Carrie has put together an exclusive package for Sense of Soul listeners. You can take Carrie's mini course, Sacred Living with the 4 Directions, and also get a 30-minute shamanic healing full cleanse of heavy energy and fill up your tank with high vibrational light. An amazing opportunity at a great price. You definitely want to take advantage of her amazing offer. You can go to www.senseofsoulpodcast.com and look under the network of lightworkers, or you can find this link directly to Carrie's amazing offer in the show notes. I find it interesting that, some animals like wolves and like doves, they're monogamous. They select their partners for life. But I did hear recently, and who knows, it could be a Mandela effect. I don't get it. But that there was a wolf pack where one of the male wolves were actually, he was cheating on his wolf, his female wolf.
Oh, I'm sure there's exceptions to the rules. I'm sure there's black sheep out there Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, nothing's perfect, right? Not in nature, not in love and war, and not in nature.
There you go.
Yeah.
I had one of the most divine moments of my life one day when I was out in the backyard. It was about 2 years ago. The moon and the sun were both in the backyard. I didn't have to move my head. It was about noon. The sun and the moon just equal. It was a new moon. It actually ended up being a crone moon is what I discovered. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I had this like revelation. I was like, oh my God, one cannot be without the other. Feminine, masculine, the balance, the light and the dark. And I just had, all this. And all of a sudden, this one dove comes above my head, one white dove. And I actually got a picture of all of it.
You need to travel around with a videographer. Yeah, you
right?
do. Record that.
I was like, oh my God. It was like the wisdom was just like
metaphor after metaphor after metaphor.
But then what happened a few weeks later was that I ended up having a dove die on my porch.
Which is
it fell from the sky. It fell from the sky and died on my porch. Right in front of me and my son. Yeah, it was horrible. It was at night. A mourning dove. I was so flipped because earlier that night I got a warning on my phone. I was researching the Jesuits and the Freemasons for the study that I've been studying on the Gnostic Gospels, where the dove symbolizes Sophia, this feminine goddess that's in the Gnostic Gospels. So I have a mini series where the dove was a main focus on many of my episodes just recently. I explained what I had saw with the feminine. That was part of it. There was all kinds of other divine moments with the dove too. I mean, crazy stuff. But that was the most crazy, because I got a warning on my phone. It said suspicious search activity, Freemasons plus Jesuits. And I'd never gotten a warning like that on my phone. On my phone. It just says, on my phone on the search engine.
That's weird.
I know. And then not even an hour later, the dove drops on my porch and dies. And we have to watch it die. It was terrible. And I mean, I flipped out. But then what happened was I'd been seeing the lone dove because they have, partners.
Right.
And I had felt so sad for her. Then Kinsley and I are outside and this little bird's trying to come up to the porch where I'm sitting. And it won't come because it's afraid of me because I was rocking on the chair. So I was very still. And it was around Thanksgiving. I had my harvest wreath on my door. It was a baby dove. It made its way to my harvest wreath. And there was 2 baby doves born on my porch. This is like less than 2 weeks later.
Girl, this is
Return of the Dove. I mean, this is so symbolic.
It is a mini series. Return of the Dove.
Yes.
No, what's amazing.
What's really crazy is Return of the Dove. There's so much about that because I had just gotten a book that I opened it up and it was Return of the Dove. I did a whole mini series on this.
That is amazing. Truth is stranger than fiction, isn't it?
Yeah. I see animals as beautiful. They're so close to source.
Yeah, they are. They are source. Yeah.
And I think that's the whole thing. If we're able to be present with them.
Yeah. Yes.
They're going to bring us so much wisdom and lessons. Yeah. And, whether they're your animals or the birds that visit your tree every day. Right.
Just that experience, those experiences. I mean, who gets those experiences every day?
Girl, I'm telling you, I was like, did the Freemasons do this?
Who's responsible for this? Now that is just, the baby doves are glorious.
Hensley had her first hamster. Oh my goodness. It was the saddest. She took such good care of that damn thing.
They can't live forever.
It was so hard. And when we brought her home, her dad goes, a lesson learner. She loved the shit out of that thing. It just must have had something from the pet store where we ended up getting it. Right. Oh, but it was hard on her. She sat with it till its last breath. Oh. I hate buying animals from the pet store because it often happens.
Buying animals, period. But because an object, they shouldn't be here for our. That's the only thing about breeders too. Pet stores and breeders. I have,
Yeah, and I remember hearing that the guy who created, he is responsible for like those first doodles. That's like his greatest regret. Have you heard that?
It should be his greatest regret. That's I don't. Breeding is just another whole episode. It's bad. People who just think they have to have a breed. You don't have to. You don't have to have any animal is the perfect animal.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be some divine, like you have these beautiful symbols, but you don't have to be Shane and have these beautiful symbols. It can be just going down the line and yes, I'm going to get a black dog because they're harder to adopt, or a black cat because they're harder to adopt. And you create the bond that you have with them.
But I think that I have these divine moments though, Nicole, because I'm so present.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. There's many years I was not like this. And I'm sure I missed opportunities to connect in the way that I have.
Right.
But I mean, truly, it's not, I don't think they're that unique to, well, maybe that whole dove thing might have been a little unique to me in some way because I was going through this deep journey with it. But I mean, if I wasn't present with everything around me, I would have missed it all.
Yeah. Yep. So that was your reward.
Yeah. And I look for more opportunities. I'm always like,
bring them on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Let the wildness inside of you connect with the wildlife outside.
Yes. Inhabit me. Yes. Definitely.
So I was going to ask you that. Yes, you do this with people's pets, but if I told you that there was like a hawk that visited me all the time.
Well, there's lots of animal the two that I can speak of, like Penelope Smith and Pia Horsley, they I'm in one of them's Power Up, and we'll do whole communications for orca whales or whole species.
Yeah.
And the idea too is more power the better. So yeah, we can tap in, and I can tap into animals. I tapped into a gecko family here. like I said, you communicate with anything that, I can communicate with, I will. I mean, I do more domestic just because that's who's reaching out, because it's a business, but I can connect. And I'm not saying I've connected with a particular hawk.
Right.
But I can, it's just channeling into, and again, I give validating information. So if there's a way you could know that it was your hawk, that particular hawk, I would give you validating information. Like I gave you validating information, so you knew I was communicating with your rascal, right? And what's your other dog's name? I'm sorry.
Ayla.
I just keep seeing Ayla's face. She's so photogenic. Oh my god.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But so is Rascal. But Rascal's more you want to touch and mush around. But Ayla, you're just like, let me get that photo. Ayla, stay there. You're beautiful. I know they're beautiful. Now is she from a breeder too?
She's from she doesn't breed lots of dogs, but she owns a ranch around here, and she also has a son who's autistic, and she only does it once a year if she does it. Right. So, and we were fortunate to get 3. So Kensley's best friend got 1 male. My best friend, Mandy, who used to be on here, got a sister. And we have Ayla. So they're family, and we're family.
If you could do meetups, if you're around there and you have meetups, they love that. Oh my God. There's a kinship and a connection when you see them meet up. Oh, it's beautiful. It's like, oh my God, where you been? How you been? I love it. Yeah, there is.
Basically, Kensley is the one who connects with that. Like, I remember when she did beg me for a hamster when we went to get dog food one day and we left with it. She was so sad when we left, because she's like, those were her siblings.
I know. Yeah. Well, Kinsley can be an animal communicator if she wants. I mean, she'll figure out what she wants to do, but she's always got that option. So
I believe that she can. Yeah.
And by the time
her energy even reminds me of yours, Kensley's.
Oh yeah? I used to be shy when I was a child. So.
You were too?
Very shy. I would hide behind my mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something happened and I came out of my shell.
Yeah.
But I am more introvert, and I'm really actually, it's so funny, but it's like, oh, you're such an extrovert. And I'm like, no, I just get excited when I talk about things that I love, and I love people. I love people. I love animals, and I love animals more, but I love people, and I just love connecting with people. So that's when the energy comes, but I'm actually more of an introvert, and I used to be really shy. So I see a lot of my energy in Kinsley too. It's funny you should say that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, guess what else?
She's going to make her big debut. And I just,
I'll have to keep in touch with you and let you know when that happens.
Yeah.
I remember early on when I very first got Ayla, my friend Ellen did Ayla's chart. She took like her name and did the Hebrew alphabet. She said, Ayla is going to be there with Kensley when she decides to come out of her shell. Oh, and she's going to help her. So Ayla's also an Aquarius. They were looking at Kensley's chart and Ayla's chart together, and they were reading them together. Yeah, and exactly what you've said is kind of exactly what she said. I do find that they are like your children, not lesser than.
They're not ours to make money on, to objectify, and even the ones that people eat, they're sacrificing themselves. They deserve a beautiful life. I don't know if we'll ever get away from the factory farming and all that. We can't sustain it. That's another whole episode. We don't talk about that, but there is a respect, right? We have encroachment in urban sprawling, and there's just so much land, right, for the animals and so much space.
So I have a confession. Well, and actually I must also say that I've gotten past it a little bit, but growing up, I had a raccoon phobia. For some reason, I have seen more raccoons than most people. I mean, some people can go through their whole lives and like ever have an encounter. But me, in fact, my mom was like, maybe they smell you. I'm like, oh my God.
You smell good.
I don't know, but I've had so many. But over the past year, kind of like maybe I would have been scared of the snake. I've really been coming to like this place of not fearing any animal anymore. And I don't know when that shifted, but maybe just being more present with them and
having love in your heart.
Maybe that is it.
Yeah. Just a open love in your heart not saying you should go in the mountains we still need to be prepared, but yeah, I think it's having an open heart. You can't communicate with animals if you don't have an open heart and great love and respect. It all boils down to respect.
So, most of my animals besides these two, I had actually usually would adopt from my mother because she would start off with an animal and then she'd not be sure she could take care of it and they'd end up at my house. And that literally that was like one dog after another dog. And so, yeah, so that's how I got Latte. And Latte had no problems with raccoons coming in my house and going through the dog door with her. And I came down one time and
That's
Latte's
beautiful.
drinking out of the bowl and the raccoons eating the food right next to each other. And I'm like, this is not okay. I
I
was
have
so
to draw the
scared.
line. Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
God, I was so
Yeah,
frightened. But I've had
that's
so
kind of
many.
why I don't have. I can't. I'm proud of you for having a doggy door. That's why I can't do doggy doors.
Yeah, I can't
I
either.
can't.
Never
What else
again.
might come through there? Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what will come through.
Exactly. You don't. Yeah, you don't have control over that when you're
No.
sleeping. Yeah.
Well, and people laugh because I said, I swear I've always got animals all outside. I said, I'm freaking like Snow White
Right.
out in the backyard,
Yep.
with
Animal
all my
after animal.
animals. I remember calling the city and saying, what am I going to do? I have raccoons that are coming in my house. They're like, they have the right of way. And I said, excuse me, this is my house. They're
They
like,
have the what?
they have the right of way, is what they told me.
Really
They
interesting. What
said,
does that mean?
this land was here and theirs before we came. And they have the right
Wow.
of way.
Interesting city response.
Yeah, go
So they're
Colorado,
like
I guess.
find a way to live with them, huh?
That's
Among
literally what
them.
they told me. They have the right of way here. So, which
Yeah,
I love
find a way.
having wildlife. I would be devastated if I didn't have what I have. And I sometimes feel sorry for the deers who get lost in the neighborhood
Yeah,
because you know that they're lost. And you also know that they came down this way, probably because of fires or a
right,
lack of food or whatever,
right.
that they're even coming this far.
Exactly. It's interesting too, that connection, that just what they bring, that connection to how we started and who we are. I feel like that's a wonderful way to not that I want to leave this physical form anytime, but to remind us, like bring you back into where we came from. I mean, we came from the earth and nature and living amongst animals like that. It's I mean, not everybody can do that, and it or be in that have that opportunity, and that is beautiful. Yeah, I cannot have enough nature, so it's inspiring to hear all the nature around you because I can only hope to have that much nature.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? So here's another question I wanted to ask you. Well, one, do you think that, in the evolution of our souls that, and you've talked to many animals, are you betting that we've all been animal before, in a past life? Is my first question. And what do you think about spirit animals?
Okay. I don't know about incarnating from human into animal to animal for sure. I just don't have enough physical proof from the other
Okay.
from spirit realm to say that. But I don't want to say things that I
Yeah.
just willy nilly like. And I even hesitate sometimes when people. I'm going to say the word healing because this is healing, but people who've lost their animals. Like you're talking about Latte. I mean that loss is so devastating, and it does bring them comfort to communicate with their animals on the other side and share things. Were they in pain? Were they okay with the decisions? Of course they were. I always
Yeah.
say they pay you to make those hard decisions, but they do reincarnate faster than humans, and
Okay.
they may have every intention of coming back and being a poodle or whatever, but maybe that's not what you need. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're going to reincarnate. You're going to get the animal or the soul that you need for your spiritual growth.
Yeah.
So I know that's not the answer to your question.
What was that one movie with the dog that comes back as like
I,
he has a dog? You don't know that movie?
I
Oh
don't
my
know. It
gosh.
depends. Give me more clues. Give me more
I
clues.
can't I
Which
can't
one?
give you nothing because I can't remember. So maybe it was, well, okay, so I think he had the dog when he was little and then he gets another dog
Yeah.
and it's like the same dog. He came back to him.
And the thing too, it may not even be the same soul. Always get what you need, but you may not get what you want. But it is for wherever you are for your highest growth
Yeah.
and highest good. So that's kind of how I feel about that. And I mean, I did humans for years, psychic communications for humans, and then, and then I kind of transitioned it, morphed, and it was like, oh, this is what you should be doing, animal communication. You've always asked, how can you help heal?
Wow.
How can you help animals? And so I don't know if I've ever asked that question, but I certainly can, and see what I get in future
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Humans.
you were so good at it. I would have thought you've been doing this your entire life since you were born into this world. You were so good at it.
I've always been intuitive, and I've always read handwriting, like can
Oh,
tell
okay.
by your energy through your handwriting, and it's
Yeah.
all just energy, right? I mean, you're just reading energy. So I've always read energy. I just haven't formally done it in the career, except in the last
Yeah.
like 4 to 5 years. But I've always taught, and I've always been able to read energy. I'm a teacher. I'm a painter. And I teach drawing, painting, photography. So I've always done that. But this is where I'm moving out of that and into animal communication and the soul paintings full time. I feel I have so many more souls to paint. It's just boiling up in me. And I'm just producing. I'm like, I mean, I can go in the studio and get such clarity, which I could never do before. I mean, and I have the academia chops to back it up. I mean, I went to VCU. It was top third in the nation when I went. Now it's like number two. But so I have all that. And I feel like everything, and I've said this before, I hate to be redundant, but I feel like everything I have done has put me in this place for these two callings, has prepared me for what I'm doing. And so when I go in the studio, it is literally just a channeling. I just literally open up and let it come through. And I've worked it out as I've been doing these paintings for the last 2 years, being clear about letting it come through. And then almost the academia's, I get out of the way of the academia. And the paintings they still are compositionally sound, rule of thirds, the colors. I mean, because I've been painting since 1992. I mean, I can't get that part wrong. It's the hardest part is to connect with source, right? Mm-hmm. To get out of your way, get out of your ego and let it come, right? And trust. I mean, it's all trust. What was your other question about?
Oh, about spirit animals. Now, so I took shaman classes years ago I went there to connect with my ancestor in the way that he did, because he was a great shaman. And so the first thing they're telling us to do is to connect with the spirit animal. And I'm like, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm here to meet the shaman dude, right? But here in my, journey, there was the hawk, and it was leading me into this opening, and then out comes this wolf and turns into a man. It was the coolest thing. And if you've never meditated and you think you can't, try a drum journey. It syncs with your body, your heart, the rhythm, and you go into trance, and it's a lot easier than people think.
It is. I love it. I'm just kind of moving and growing into this. I'm in a huge change. And so I feel like the point I'm in is beautiful, because, almost anything goes. But then I love journeying. But I wanted to focus more on animal communication. I think when you start to, work through the shadow sides, and when you're working through being a psychic or whatever you want to call us, communicators, whatever, intuition, you try everything, right? You try Reiki, you try shot. But of all the things I've tried, I wanted to focus. I didn't want to be someone who had 6 things by their name. I want to be really good at what I'm good at. And I'm excellent at animal communication. I'm excellent at painting. And those two together, painting souls, past or present, those are what I'm good. But the shamanism is something I see myself going towards. You say, I love it. I feel like that's like connected to heritage, to its nature, its earth, its mother, it's art, it's grounding, it's root, it's everything. Yeah, we should all do it. Yeah, we should all do it out in nature all the time. Yeah, it's beautiful. I agree with you on that.
So what do you think about spirit animals? I remember them saying, you can ask any child what their spirit animal is. They know. It's so beautiful. They do.
Yeah, I don't think you have just one. I think you have ones for whatever you need them for.
I agree.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's what kind of we have just proved with what you told me about the doves and the
hummingbirds.
And the raccoons, and know,
Are you saying the raccoon is my spirit animal?
Sure, right. Breaking through your fears.
Fear and overcoming fear and challenges. That's the greatest lesson you could possibly have along your journey.
Right. And how beautiful to be a raccoon and not something else, right? Not you falling out of a plane or you know what I mean? Yeah. Something so beautiful as to process that. Right. Yeah.
You're so right. I mean, the snake, and seeing it from a different perspective, right? And seeing beautiful. That there's so much wisdom connected with the animals that are all maybe spirits in the way that they are teaching us on that spiritual level.
Absolutely. And it's really just about giving them attention, right? Your attention to the trees, to nature, to the animals, your attention to it, and they give their attention back.
Early on, I had this man on. He wrote a book called, I think it was Walking with Sam. And this was his meditation, right? Talking about putting down the phone and just, connecting with your animal and Mother Earth and going out there. how little we are actually even touching the earth. There's so many things in between us, right? The soles of your shoes. And he awakened, walking with his dog every day. We're missing out on opportunities.
Yeah. I think awakening can happen. Like, does it gradual? Is it all of a sudden? Is it some, event? I think
it's happening all the time for me.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're not woke. Right.
Yeah.
We're always open and growing.
I've had a gazillion awakenings.
I know, right? We awaken every moment. Yeah.
I awakened with you, Nicole, with this experience. I'm not kidding you. Just the beauty that you brought into this house.
That means a lot. Thank you so much. And it's a gift to me just to meet your animals and you, Shanna. Yeah.
My dogs knew that I was going to have an interview with you today.
How'd they know? They just knew.
I had to kick him out of here. I mean, they were all hovered around me, and they haven't been doing that a lot because over the past week, she's home right now because she's COVID. So I've been kicking them out of the room during the day because they want to go in and out during my interview.
Right.
So I'm like in or out. They were really, really wanting to be in here. Right. And I just was looking at them like, what are you guys up to? You guys know I'm about ready to talk to Nicole. And I just had this feeling.
They do know what you're thinking, and you can practice this all the time walking your animals. We're walking down the sidewalk and you think to yourself, we're going to take a right here, and they'll take a right before you actually start to do that act. They are so in tune. Oh my God, so in tune.
I always think that I'm like, we've been told we only have 5 senses, which is ridiculous. Obviously, we have discernment, intuition, we can see with our minds. We have far more than just these 5 senses. And they say animals have way more.
Right. Right. You're right. If we can open ourselves up to that, just that telepathic communication, what is animal communication? It's the nonverbal interspecies communication. I mean, you asked me beginning about whether you thought we, as a child, but I think we come into this world that way, right? We're nonverbal. So how can we communicate but telepathically? I think as we grow up and start to get older and the words start to take over, then that nonverbal starts to fall away. And that's why our kids are so good at it. They just came from that, and so if we could just keep that, and that was encouraged and cultivated in us at a young age, and just, yes, you can. And, they see our grandmothers, and they see people that have passed, and they'll say, oh, Nana, with the house coat in the hall.
They're barking at nothing, or they're looking at nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's so much validation in it. But hopefully the world's catching up to it, and they understand that they're sentient beings capable of emotions and intelligence, free will. Then the relationships between human and animals, will have greater bonds, greater joy, more satisfying lives, because their lives are shorter than ours and in the physical form. So we have to make it the best we can.
Wow.
So spend time with our family, spend time with those animals, because they, you're saying they want to come in your room, but they want to work with you. They want to be with you. They want to be with their pack, right? They don't want to be outside with the door closed. They want to be with you. And they hate doors closed, by the way.
Oh,
they
don't bet.
Doors closed, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nicole.
Pleasure meeting you. Your listeners can go to my website too. I just wanted to say, please have them. And if you haven't already, sign up for the mailing list, because it's free. And all the newsletters I do are from animals' point of view. Like, I ask them what I think that is important to share. And usually the newsletter is based on what they, as a collective, what they think I should share with humans, non-animals. So the mailing list is free. Please join. I have an Instagram page. And I'm not trying not to put too many paintings on there because I don't want to give too many away, but join my Instagram. And then my website is Harp Space, like Headspace, but Harp, HARP, space.org.
And is that your actual last name too? Nicole
Harp? Yes, Nicole Harp, like the instrument of the angels, or the beer, either way you want to go. Harp beer or Harp the instrument. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Sense of Soul podcast. And thanks to our special guests for joining me. If you want more of Sense of Soul, check out my website at www.mysenseofsoul.com, where you can work with me one-on-one or help support Sense of Soul podcast by donating to my coffee fund. Thanks for listening.